It's Mohim for Boxing Domination, and today I'm joined by one of the upcoming white collar fighters, Jack Cooper, as he joins me from Kent, I believe.
Yes, Gillingham, Kent, right there,
Jack,
right down in the southeast of England.
Jack, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
First of all, introduce to us who you are and what got you started into the sport of boxing.
Okay, my name's Jack Cooper. I'm 21 years old. I'm a heavyweight unlicensed boxer. My story into boxing is a little bit different. I only took up competing in boxing when I was 18. But what it was, I'll be honest with you, I spent a lot of time around my grandfather as a young child, and he was just absolutely obsessed with boxing. Most kids would go around their granddad's house and watch Bob the Builder or something like that. My granddad would put Muhammad Ali, Joe Fraser on. He had the little tapes, his little recorder and his telly, and we just used to sit and watch it for hours, and I was just hooked. If I'm honest with you, I've always just had an interest of it, loved it really, and yeah, that's what I'm into boxing really. No one from my family boxed. My granddad didn't box, but yeah, he just got me hooked really.
In terms of being a child growing up, did you always want to do boxing, or how did that sort of come about physically?
Always wanted to do boxing. Was always involved. I think a lot of it. I never really had the confidence to go down the amateur gym. If I'm honest with you, nobody in my family really did it, so it wasn't really a clear path. But I always wanted to. I just never really grabbed the ball by the horns and went and done it. Always watched the telly, always watched a couple of my mates box, and used to go and watch them. I think, oh, I really want to do that one day. Then I'll be honest, I was 18 one day, and I just said, you know what, you only live once, don't you? So I went down and tried it, and honestly, been hooked ever since. It was the best thing I ever did.
That's incredible. So you are 21, which I found out
21.
just before. You work for the NHS. How do you balance out, your work and your training?
I'll be honest with you, it's hard. I think you just have to. I think you just have to. I just know I've got to do both. If that means if I have to be up 17 hours a day, I'll be up 17 hours a day. Obviously, I don't want to be, but I know for myself, for me mentally, I have to train 6 times a week, twice a day. So 12 sessions a week and rest on a Saturday. I do really. Sometimes I'll go up and run before work. So I'll get up about 4, run before work, go to work. Sometimes I'll do 2 sessions after. That's a boxing session, do a bit of weights after, or run after, or spar. Yeah, I think it's just part of my routine now. I think if I didn't train mentally, I wouldn't be able to sleep, if that makes sense. There's a couple of times where I've been like, oh, I'm not worried about the gym today. I've sat down for half an hour at home and think, no, I can't be. I've got to go and train. And yeah, that's how I just do it really. You just manage, just take every day as it comes. Yeah, just got to pay that rent really.
Yeah, and it really does help, especially being a young fighter coming up. You've had, I believe, 3 wins, one loss, one draw.
That's it,
21 years
correct.
old, and you have your next fight on November the 10th.
November the 10th at Balling in Maidstone.
Brilliant. And in terms of all the fights that you sort of had,
Yep.
how are you preparing, for this fight compared to all the others?
I think this fight is probably the best I've ever prepared because the thing is, with the other 5 camps, there's things that have naturally gone well and there's things that haven't gone so well. So I'm just calling upon my experience from everything I've done. I think, okay, this time this worked really well. This didn't work so well. So it's just bringing it all together. But in theory, I'd probably do 6 boxing sessions a week. That'd be 4 technical, 2 sparring. Then I'd probably do 2 hit sessions in a gym, which is in Snap Fitness with my strength and conditioning coach Jack Smith, and then I'll do a couple of runs a week, and then 2 upper body sessions and one leg session. And yeah, that's how I break it up really. But mainly this camp, it was really. I wanted to go back to the nuts and bolts of boxing. I think in previous camps I've been guilty of picking up the weights too much and not picking up the boxing gloves enough. So this time I really wanted a boxing specific camp. And to be honest with you, it's working really well. I think I'll continue to do so.
And going back on your previous times, with your granddad as well, what would you say was like your most memorable boxing moment with your granddad? Maybe a fight or maybe like a Prince Nassim entrance.
I
Well,
think
you're maybe too young for that, but yeah.
no, I did watch a lot of Prince Nassim. To be honest with you, I've always been a big lad for my age. My granddad always said to me, "You're going to be a heavyweight. You're never going to be any other sort of weight. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't. I probably made the heavyweight limit when I was about 13, if I'm honest with you. So I've always been a big lad. My I don't know. I think I remember the Muhammad Ali George Foreman. I think that's probably the most memorable fight because for the first, I think it was about 7 rounds of that fight, George Foreman was battering Muhammad Ali, and couldn't work out. When I was young, obviously, I couldn't work out because Muhammad Ali and all the other fighters I've watched is a very, very good mover, jab and mover, and he stayed on the ropes. And I never could work out why for the first 7 rounds. But the movie granted, we didn't say a word. We just sat. He just said, "Sit there and watch it. Don't say anything, and then watch what happened." And that was memorable because it was one, it was the genius of Muhammad Ali, and two, it made me realise that in football, say a team gets a 5-0 lead, the other team's not going to come back, are they? But in boxing, you could lose 11 rounds, like Muhammad Ali was losing, and then one punch changes it all. And I think that was memorable because it really opened my eyes to one, that you're never down and out in boxing. You're only one punch away. And two, you can never be too high because you're always one punch away from losing it all. And I think that's why I love it because it's a risky sport like no other. But the highs are better than no other either.
That's very true. And we got a massive fight here in London on Saturday, Joshua and Dubois, which is
Huge
going to
fight.
be the battle of the giants. Two fighters, who have always been compared to Frank Bruno in terms of, sort of like the stiffness in a way, but also the power, the agility, the way they fight.
100%,
You're
yeah.
going to be
Big
watching the
lad.
fight. Give me your prediction for that.
I think personally, and this might be a little bit controversial, I think Joshua inside 4. I think I like Daniel Dubois. I really like Daniel Dubois, but I just think Joshua's that. The thing is with Daniel, I think, and I hope I'm proven wrong, but I think in the big nights sometimes he can freeze a little bit. And whereas AJ has been there, seen there, done it all before. And the one thing I'd say of Anthony Joshua is, as we learned with Francis Ngannou, we thought Francis Ngannou couldn't be knocked out after the Tyson Fury fight. I think we all thought that this man's the toughest man in the world. And one right hand from Joshua changed it all. Against against Hergovich, sorry, Dubois done really well to ride out them right hands. I was watching the fight and I thought that Hergovich was going to stop him, and he done really well. But I think one right hand off Anthony Joshua, you can't walk through them the same way you've walked through Philip Hergovich's. And I think Dubois is going to walk onto one early, and I don't think he's going to recover. But I might be proven wrong.
Also, there's rumors now of Dubois potentially sacking his trainer, which there's no confirmation on it, and his injury of the right hand. Again, it's just all rumors coming out from outside the camps. Anyway, in terms of you though, boxing has been a fantastic thing since the Saudis have come in. But in terms of the unlicensed scene and the scene in the white collar as well,
Yep.
what's your end goal in in within the white collar slash semi pro scene?
I think it's hard to say because naturally I'd like to turn professional. I've always said that I'd love to turn professional. I think I'm young enough, especially as heavyweight. But I think for me, I just want to get myself in, have some good challenges, get myself on some good shows. What my goal is, I really want that one memorable night. That one night, every fighter has to have it, where they have that one fight they're remembered for. Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko. Tyson Fury's got the Wilder fights. You've got Joe Calzaghe's got the Roy Jones fights. And that's what I'd like. I'd like that one fight that is ultimately I come through, but that's my big night. Almost I just want to be remembered as someone who's always in good fights and someone who doesn't back down from a challenge. That's probably my goal from it, I think. Yeah, obviously, naturally, in a couple of years, I'd like to do the amateurs and then do the pros. I think that's a natural progressional route. But for the white collar, I just want to be involved in good nights of boxing, mate. To be honest with you.
I think it makes loads of sense to go through the amateur route, especially with the age you are. I know certain fighters like Fabio Wardley haven't really had amateur experience. They went straight from white collar to now British and
Yeah.
being the British champion. But in terms of the current scene of the British heavyweights, if you could spar anyone, who would it be? Say it's Johnny Fisher.
Um. Do you know what? Actually, I'm lucky enough that my answer would have been Dave Allen. But a couple of weeks ago, believe it or not, I actually went up and sparred Dave Allen.
No
Um,
way.
I went up and sparred Dave. I think me and my dad went up there. I think it took about 4.5 hours to get up there. Um, I've also, again, to be honest, I'm really lucky. The two heavyweights I really liked when I was sort of growing up were Dave Allen and Tom Little, and I'm lucky enough to say I've shared the ring with both of them. Um, so that was such a great experience, and I sparred Tom multiple times actually, and what a nice man Tom was, and Tom really brought me through. I think my third fight, I was sparring Tom. I think for the last 5 weeks of my camp, we were sparring. And then what an experience! What an experience! That the thing with Tom is Tom, that man. I think when I was sparring, he must have been 22 stone. He was moving like a middleweight. It was absolutely incredible. And with Dave, he's just the strongest, most toughest man I've ever been with in my life. Someone said to me before I went and sparred him, his head's like concrete, and I thought, and I hit him with my best shot, and he just sort of stood there, and I thought, yeah, his head is like concrete. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember a young Dave Allen. Oh wow, the fight with Lewis Ortiz, the
Yeah.
fight that no one was taking, and he took it, and it was crazy. He fought Dylan White, went the distance in his sixth fight or seventh fight. But anyway, in terms of the sparring with Dave Allen as well, how did that sort of come about? Did he approach you, or did you just drop him a DM?
I'll be honest with you, he put on his story. He said, "Is any heavyweights out there looking for rounds?" And I thought, I'm going to drop him a message. I thought he's never going to reply. He's
Yeah.
never ever going to reply. And I sent him a text, and within about 30 seconds, he replied and said, "If you can get yourself up north, mate, then yeah, no problem." And I was like, "Sweet, I'm getting myself up there." I'm getting myself up there. I rang me dad and said, "Dad, I need a favour. Can we go up to Sheffield on Saturday?" And he was like, "Why is that?" I said, "Oh, we'll go and spar Dave Allen." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, all right then. No worries. Let's go."
Incredible. Well, look, I'm going to keep this interview short, but before I do let you go, let's just sort of recap on the fights you've had this year, and let's
Okay. Yeah.
recap on some of the stuff that you maybe want to accomplish next year. So, is there anything in your mind that you're maybe thinking, you know what, I want to go down this route, then I want to go down this route? But while I ask you that question, with a
Hmm.
counter question for you is, by
Well,
what age do you plan to get into the amateur routes, and by what age do you maybe want to try and have your pro debut?
okay. So with which we've been talking about, my one thing I'm really looking forward to is I've always wanted to box in the away corner. I've always wanted to go up there, bit like Rocky did, bit like Rocky did against Ivan Drago. I love that film. Watched that about 15 times. I always wanted to box in another man's hometown because I think that's a true test of heart. And we've been talking, haven't we, about potentially me doing that in February next year. That's something I take one fight at a time. I've got full focus on Chris Battle on the November the 10th, but touch wood, again, that's something in the future I'm really, really looking forward to. With the amateurs, if I'm honest with you, I'm 22 in April. I would quite like to be starting the amateurs at 22. I think if this is potentially my last year in unlicensed or my second to last year in unlicensed, I'd like that. And I think you probably need 5 years in amateur, I would say. So I would probably say by 27, if I'm making my pro debut, that would be ideal. But the one thing about boxing is things are so unpredictable. I'd never want to put a time frame on it. I'll be ready when I'm ready. But in my head now, off the top of my head, that's sort of where I'd be looking at.
So, in terms of the pro career, you know, the time when it happens, we don't want to look too forward yet.
No.
Um, do you intend to sort of go down the road, like on the road, like a lot of fighters, like how Tom Little did, and guys like Kimil Sokolowski have done, sort of on the road as journeyman, or do you want to try and be the home fighter?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'd love to be a home fighter because I'm really lucky. But I'm really, really lucky. I've got really good support, really, really good support from Gillingham in Kent. Big up everyone from there. I'm really, really lucky. I've got some really good support, and I'd like to build a career for myself that is going to be the best I can possibly do. Um, but that being said, do you know what? If a fight come up on a matchroom card or a Queensbury card or a boxer card or anything like that, you ain't gonna turn that down, are you? Because it's the big nights. It's the big nights, the big fights. That's what you want, really. So, in answer to your question, I'm happy to do both.
I think that's a good answer because that's what Dave Allen did. I still remember his very early on in his career. He took a lot of fights, sort of not on the road, but they were more like just taking them on, even short notice, 50-50
Yeah.
fights.
Mm.
Nick Webb fight came, knocked him out with an overhand right, and then after that, just changed his life.
Changed his life, and do you know what as well? Was what I love about that story. It's 4 weeks before he lost or 4 or 5 weeks before he lost to Tony Yoka over in Paris.
Which
Um,
Tony Oka failed a drug test right after.
yeah, he did. He did, and then look at him since he's come back from his drug ban. He's not quite been the same fighter, is he? Got stopped by Takam. Got beat by Takam, didn't he? I think he get beat by Bacoli as well.
He got beat by Bacoli, but we do have to remember Bacoli is an absolute monster. What he did to Jared Anderson.
Wow, I remember a couple of years ago I was watching some Billy Nelson stuff on YouTube where he was talking about how good Bacoli was, and I thought, I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I necessarily believed him, but do you know what now? Yeah,
Like
100%. I think Martin Bacoli could be one of the top four heavyweights in the world.
easily
Really,
with the power he has. The only problem is he takes a long time. I think it was like the first round. He only threw one punch or two punches, but he knocked down Jared Anderson with the very first punch that landed. To be fair,
and I would have said that Jared Anderson was the top heavyweight prospect in the world at the time. I honestly would have thought, and John Fury said it as well. John Fury said that Jared Anderson's the next best thing. Tyson Fury said it as well, and look at what happened. Completely flipped the script. Respect to him. Hopefully now he's going to get his big fight with Yang. I'd love to see that fight.
I'd love to as well. But listen, I want to thank you for coming on the channel.
My
And
pleasure.
before I let you go, what are we going to be expecting on November the 10th?
I'm honest with you, the fighter I've got is a come forward fighter. I'm a come forward fighter as well. So if I'm honest with you, it's in a cage as well, not even in a ring. So there's nowhere really to run. So if I'm honest with you, I'm going to expect fireworks.
Is it boxing gloves or is it 4 ounce?
Boxing gloves, 10 ounce boxing gloves. So, but just in a cage, it's a different experience for me. I'm looking forward to it. So I cannot wait. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a great fight. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a beer after with him.
Anyway, thank you, Jack, and we'll catch you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.